This conference will now be recorded.
So I hope you got clarity about overriding. Let's move to the next one. So, and we were discussing something at the end of the session that is variable overriding. In that, we were talking like how to access superclass variable in subclass by using super keyword. Now we have to conclude few things. Yesterday, by the time we were discussing that we almost ran out of time. Oh, it's not audible. 1 minute. Well, 1 minute. Hello. Now, is it audible now? I hope this is audible, right? Yeah, I know. Sometimes this gets stuck for some reason, I don't know, but it's fine. It's good now. So now, yesterday I was talking about this thing. What is that? We were talking about overriding, variable overriding, and then we were discussing this how to access. We had completed the discussion of overriding variable of superclass and subclass by using that override keyword. And usually that is applicable for val key, only for val variables, means immutable variables. And in that process, we suddenly, gone into something. What is that like? We suddenly switched into something like, can we access a superclass variable in subclass by using super keyword like in Java? Is there in Scala? We tried to, we thought to understand. At least it's my this thing. Maybe what is that? I thought to understand, like, okay. So, but the point is, we understood by the time the session is done. We what is that? We concluded that it's not working. So what is the point here? One thing is when you override fields and okay guys, I think I'm seeing some. Okay, fine. What is that one thing? Let me just clarify a few things here about that. Accessing superclass variable in subclass. This is over. This is done. What is that? This discussion is done. But I will add a few points here. One thing. This is the code which we are doing yesterday, and there are a few observations, wonderful observations. Because today, I was working on this. I understood why it's not working. What is the reason behind that? These are all very beautiful things which we have in Scala. To be honest with you, okay. But anyhow, suppose A is there. Let's get back to this A thing. Okay. We have discussed this point. How to override a superclass variable in subclass, and we do that with the override keyword here, correct? And we had a discussion yesterday about that. So fine. Usually we apply it for immutable variables. Let me add few points here. What is that? We can override what is that? Superclass variable in subclass. How do we do that? By using something like a variable. It's same like how do we do it for methods? We do it for variables as well. Superclass variable in subclass. Using override keyword where with the where should we declare with subclass variable okay, that's the point. And usually this is applicable for what type of variables? This overriding is applicable for only for immutable variables or val type of variables. So if you look at the code here, let us just put that point here. If you see here, we are trying to override immutable variables. Yesterday we had a discussion. If I try to override mutable variables or var type, we had a compilation error. So when we change it to val, so we are successful. That's for sure. Okay. And if you should look at this, usually we override this variable of superclass in subclass by applying this override keyword with the superclass variable. Okay, that is one thing we have seen this. And second thing is we cannot do this overriding, or this overriding of variables or fields is not applicable for mutable variables or var type, but it is applicable for var type. I hope that point is very clear for all of you. Let's just add a point to that. Got it right there? So overriding fields is applicable for what? Fields is applicable only for what, sir? Only for immutable variables are val type. Only for immutable variables are for val type, but not for what, sir? Val type, but not for var type. Why? We had a discussion. If it is var, we can modify it even in the subclass. So we don't need to override it. But if it is val, we cannot override it. We cannot override. I mean, you know, right? We cannot overwrite, not override. We cannot overwrite it. I cannot modify val type of variable. So what is the other option for me? Then the other choice for me is I can override this in the subclass and change that value. Once you override, the one thing we didn't discuss yesterday, this is a new point for all of us. Once you override this variable of subclass will completely override the variable of superclass. Means anywhere you call a from here onwards. From here onwards, you call a anywhere. Then even here also, even on subclass superclass method, you call this a. Then you don't get 10 anywhere, sir. You get always 20. Means what? When you do this overriding, then what happens here? Then this will completely override the value of a. The subclass variable will completely modify the value of a. Means that, as name says, override means reassign the value of any variable in the hierarchy with this latest value. I am going to prove all that. That's what I have done. I have done a workaround today for some time, and that is a beautiful thing to understand. It's really interesting things, you know. In programming, these are like, you know, like beautiful things to learn. Okay, but now let me conclude few points here. What is this overriding fields is applicable? Fields are variables. Maybe some people might get confused. Is applicable only for what, sir? Immutable or for val type of variable. Okay, val type. Then, but not for var type. That is clear. That is one thing. Next, what else? The variable in the subclass will completely override all the other variables in the superclass. Suppose you have three levels of inheritance hierarchy. Suppose same A is there in the 3 levels, then the latest level will override the other 2 levels. Got it right? Do you understand my point? So what happens here is when you apply overriding, the variable in the subclass will completely override the variable of superclass. To prove these points, I am just showing you a few examples. Okay, but right by now we are clear with this. We have tested this. Removing this program because that's not my program. So let me add my program because that gives more satisfaction. Okay, so when you test it, if you see this, when you test it, we are directly overwriting in the constructor itself, default primary constructors in both the superclass and subclass. We have declared in the primary constructor. So when we create object, automatically what happens? The subclass constructor is called. Then when you print it, you get the value of this overridden variable. And you got 20 here. We have done so many things yesterday like that, like this. We have done all that. What is that? Simple things there, but it didn't work out. Other thing is, this is one thing. Remember this point. Okay? Yesterday, you remember, right? Let me prove this point to you. Prove this point. Okay, this is very important to all of you. But this is okay, right? We are done with this now. We are done with this program. Overriding is done for variables. Now the next point is I am moving to the next one. Suppose, like in Java, if I want to access the variable of superclass and subclass, when you have overridden variable in the subclass, when you have two same variables, both in superclass and subclass, and suppose if I should invoke or if I should call variable of superclass and subclass, what should I do? By default, when I print A, the priority is always for the superclass variable. Then is there any way for me to access this superclass variable in subclass? Can I use any super keyword like in Java? Point one, answer is for this is no. So one thing, we cannot use super keyword like in Java, super keyword to access. This is another important point, to access superclass variable in subclass. Usually this scenario comes only when you override variables. When we go for overriding, okay. This is one thing. Usually this question pops up, okay. Overriding variables. Of course, this is applicable for methods. So super keyword to access superclass variable in subclass, when we go for overriding, that is not allowed. We cannot use the super keyword. That is one thing. However, we can use it for, we can apply it for what, sir? However, we can apply it with the methods. Apply it with methods, sir. Just straightforward statements. I don't want you to get confused with all this too much of technical words. Okay. So now, to prove this point, means what? The conclusion is we don't have that kind of approach. Might be you can ask me a question, sir. If that is the case, then how can I access a superclass variable in subclass? This is your question. Then my answer is when you override, then the subclass variable will totally override that variable of superclass. So now you call this here. Yesterday we were doing this and we were get surprised with the results. Now you see here, because I have done workaround, now I am very confident to talk on this. See here now. Let's just take a simple partially implemented method and just return this. Okay, right. Now you see, you call this method in the subclass. Suppose if I call getA should return the value of superclass, not the value of subclass, because nowhere I don't have this getA method. I'm returning the value of super. Anyhow, super keyword is ruled out because we don't have super keyword for in Scala to invoke superclass variable in subclass. This is not applicable for super, is not applicable for variables. Okay, then I am going for some alternative approach. Then what I am doing here for alternative, okay, what I am doing for alternative approach, I should switch off my phone here. This is in the middle of something, somebody. One minute, guys. Yes. Fine. The disturbance is gone. See, now if you see this, now what I do, I implement a partial function. I'm talking about the super keyword. The super keyword, applying super keyword is ruled out. That is, you can apply it with methods. That is fine. Now, how can I, the alternative approach, how can I invoke this superclass variable in subclass? Out of my programming experience, I'm trying my ways. I am trying with my, we have different alternatives, right? I thought, okay, let me take a getter and let me return that and try to get here. Okay, I'm applying my experience here. Let us see this. Okay, let us just say that here you can say getA. You don't need to apply parentheses in Scala. Even you can use a method like a variable in Scala. That's how that's that beautiness of Scala here. Okay, now if you run this, usually what here we expect no doubt 20 and here we expect 10, but this program will give us a big surprise. We got 20 in both the cases. Yesterday here we were what is that, blabbering. If not you, I were blabbering because I don't want to include here. It's my this thing, right? So I was blabbering. Why 20 coming in both the cases? I am expecting 20 first and 10 next. But for our surprise, it is giving me what? It is giving me 20 in both the cases. Then later on today, when I was analyzing, I understood one thing. When you do override here, this will completely override the variable of parent also. Are you convinced with my explanation? If you have a doubt, tell me, I'll prove it. If you are not convinced, I will prove that. How? Take another variable now. Val space some b colon int. Okay, let's take some another variable, something like equal to some 30. Okay, now again I am defining a similar kind of getter for this b also, get b. Now I am returning b, sir. Okay, now I am not overriding b to prove a point to you people. I don't override b. Got it, right? If I don't override b, what happens? You can see here now. See this. Now I am calling this here println of get b. Can you see this? Right. Now what do you get here now? This time when I am calling b, which is not overridden, what is the output you are going to see here? What is that you see here, sir? Run this now. You got 30. Perfect, right? The overridden one in both cases, it is giving us 20, 20 and 30. Clear, right? That is one thing. Second thing, suppose now you see, sir.
I think, bro, as we are calling with subclass object, so that is what it is not being changed. If you create
Correct.
object for superclass, then it will be the same.
Okay, that's fine. But you know, here one thing, we should check for overridden variable, right? See, one here it's very clear, clearly proved here. What is that? This method is coming parent class or child class. One thing. From where this method is calling? This is coming from parent. And second thing, which value is written here? I am trying to return the value from the parent itself, not from the child, right? Will you agree for that? Do you agree, Madhu? That is one proof. Leave about the object point here. Suppose I am trying to print getB, then it is giving me 30, right? Then similarly, if I say getA, then it should give me 10, right? But why I'm getting 20? It's clearly proved here. What is that? This is completely overriding not just the variable of a, the variable in the subclass. This will even override the one in the super also. Now we don't have two copies. We have just one copy after this. Even the value of superclass is also set to how much here now? It is set to 20 only. That's what is happening here. This is completely what is that changing or changing the scope of this variable here. That's what I am seeing. Suppose, okay, leave about subclass, superclass. Suppose you take like this. Let me just take your scenario. Okay, when you go for this scenario, let me just add this here, a dot get it, right? So now let's run this. And there are, and one more thing you need to understand in object oriented programming. Okay, let me print it. Println of, I think I have to talk so much here if I should explain this scenario. What is happening when you have a separate object for parent and a separate object for child here? Okay, now you got 10 here. That is correct. That is correct. But when you create exclusive object for parent, where is the concept of overriding, Madhu? Where did you apply overriding? You got my point? Here you are just creating object for parent. Then how can we see that overriding here on parent object? Overriding happens with subclass. Now between superclass and subclass, when you have subclass, then I can compare and tell this, okay, this is modifying the value of parent. When you exclusively create an object, then overriding doesn't have any impact on subclass, this superclass object. It doesn't have any impact on that. Do you understand my point, Madhu?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how it happens. Okay, when you go for exclusive object, overriding is not applicable for superclass, because when you create subclass object, then we talk about the overriding and the resolution of variables here. Otherwise, there is no comparison here, and we don't have that scope to what is that to point this overriding. You get my point, Madhu? So finally, what is the conclusion here? One thing, when you override a variable in Scala, then that will completely modify the value of itself, as well as that will completely modify the value of parent as well. That's why from the subclass, even if you call this variable a, now it is returning that modified value, but it's not giving me what it is not giving me the superclass value 10. Means what? Even though we cannot, it is immutable, through some approach they were trying to change the object of this a probably. That's what I am assuming. Okay, so finally this is conclusion for overriding. Points are what? We cannot apply super keyword to invoke superclass variable in subclass when we go for not even if you override or not, that is fine. Even if you don't override, super keyword cannot be applied with the variables in Scala. That is one thing. But usually super keyword is preferred to avoid the confusion between superclass method and subclass method, or superclass variable and subclass variable. Only in that case we prefer super keyword. In other cases it is not necessary, because automatically the properties of parent are inherited to child class. Do you get my point? So in that case we don't need to use super keyword. The scenario is implemented or used only when you have what? Overriding. But that is also not applicable with variables in Scala. This is there in Java, might be this is there in C++, but this is there in even C#, but not in where it is not applicable in Scala. That is important point. Okay, so we cannot use super keyword with the super variables, super class variables. Okay, in to access super variable in subclass when we go for overriding variables. Okay, and then however it is applicable with methods, that is fine. Okay, so finally these are the conclusions, folks. Got it right? Next one. Now I am going to the next topic. What is that next topic? Once this is done, another topic is overriding methods, and how do you invoke method of superclass in subclass with super keyword. That is another scenario. Are you clear till this point? Everybody's clear? All of you are good here, folks? Any questions? Any confusion? Okay. Next one. Finally, what is that? Point one. Super keyword. I just want to add this point here. Super keyword is not applicable with the variables in Scala. That is one thing. Second thing, we can apply it with methods. Now I am just going to talk about what is that scenario here? Applying super keyword with a method. Let's see this now. Take all this. Maybe we can just copy and paste this here, just for analysis purpose sometime later. Next one. Super keyword with the methods. That is the next topic. We are just also covering this as well, so that next time if you see this anywhere, we don't have issue. What is the super keyword? When do we need it? Let's take a direct use case here. This is not simple to, this is not difficult to understand. I'm just removing all this because you know all that stuff. Okay, now let's see this. Suppose you take one method here, def, this one, just a simple method. I'm not complicating here, just making it simple. Just printing, what is that? Println. Okay. I take my method as a marriage, just for a quick idea for you know, right? Overriding means. So here I'm just taking it as Subbalakshmi. Just a quick example. Remember overriding forever. Okay, parent is asking to marry Subbalakshmi. Now I'm not happy with Subbalakshmi. I didn't like her. So I am in love with some Jessie. Okay, you know, right? This fancy movies you keep watching in Hollywood, Bollywood, and Tollywood, okay? Or any other wood, sir. No issues. Now instead of Subbu, I'm going to whom? I'm already in love with Jessie. Now I am going for marrying Jessie. This is fine. Okay. So the question is, Of course, you know the error, the reason for error. You have to apply override keyword with this method. That those are the rules. I cannot have any exception for rules. So that is fine. Now after this, suddenly somebody asked a question. Sir, I want to invoke that marriage method of parent also in the subclass. Sir, why don't you try marrying both people? Just an idea. Don't feel me bad. Okay. Then what should I do now? If I want to marry Subbu also, what should I do? I should invoke marriage method in the subclass now, because subclass is the one who has to marry, correct? Then what should I do? Just only to remember, sir. Don't take it in any other way. Just for only understanding. Now, as per this, Scala people, they have given us what is that? The super keyword to invoke superclass method in subclass. And when do we need? When do we apply this? When there is overriding, we apply this scenario. But of course, you can use super keyword anytime, sir. Super keyword is applicable with methods. Anytime you can apply super keyword to invoke superclass method in subclass, no doubt about that. But usually it is recommended, it is a good practice when you go for overridings, because there's the point of ambiguity with method signatures. You have same method in parent, same method in subclass. Suppose you create object for subclass. Okay. Suppose you say where some b equal to new b1. Now when I say b dot marriage, now you tell me, sir, which method is called here? The one from the subclass or the one from the superclass? We have discussed this scenario. By any means, the method of subclass is called, sir. All of you know this, right? So now somebody asked me a question, sir, I want to call, because there are two same methods. Now when I try to call marriage on superclass method, sorry, subclass, marriage on subclass object, always I get the subclass method. Now I want to invoke even superclass method from subclass. What should I do? Then you apply super keyword like this. Just apply super with method, with the method of parent. Then automatically that gets invoked. So this is simple idea about what is that, how to invoke a superclass method from a subclass by using super keyword. Now let me run this first of all. So that, you can see here, this time we have Subbalakshmi and Jesse. But usually this is a very rare situation, sir. Usually we prefer to marry only one lady. We cannot marry multiple ladies here, sir. It's not possible. Okay, now, so that's why what is that? I remove this from here. Now I am happy with Jesse, sir. Subbu is my parent choice, not my choice. That's why I override this. You got my point? Huh? Suppose somebody, out of your curiosity, what is that? Will you marry both, and can you call that marriage of parent in child? If you ask me this question, then I can tell you one thing. Yes, marrying two people is possible, not for boy, even for girl also. But the point is, what is this here, sir? The point is, how do you invoke superclass method in subclass? Simply just you have to use super dot marriage. Got it right, sir? This is a little controversial statement, sir, but only just to understand the answer. Don't think in the other way, okay? Just to have a little fun, that's all. Are you good now? This is the idea about what, sir? This is the idea about what, sir? How to use super keyword, okay, to invoke superclass method in a subclass. And that's about this one, sir. Now we are done with super keyword. And we got a perfect idea about super keyword here. We got perfect idea about overriding. We got perfect idea about overriding methods, overriding variables. Okay, all this is perfectly clear for all of us. So finally, what is the point, sir? Usually I have a couple of questions now. Before moving to the next topic, sir, the abstract class topic, I have a couple of questions for all of you, just to understand how good you are with your concept. Okay, so let us just try to get this. What is it? Questions now. Can we? Now I am asking about these few questions. I will ask some 4 or 5 questions now. Let's give me please quick answers. Question 1. When you override variable of parent and child, what happens to the what happens to the parent class variable? Will it gets completely overridden, or they both the value of the variable of parent will be intact, and only the value of child is modified? That's my question. Or does this child class variable will completely modify the parent also? That is the question. Answer, sir. Does a child class variable completely override, modify the value of parent or not? That is the question. Only Suresh is giving me answer. How about others, sir? How about others? I got answers from 3. At least I am seeing 9 people in the session. Today also we modified our link. From tomorrow, no changes in the link, sir. I forget that. So might be somebody missed out due to link change. Others, please give me your answer, sir. Okay. Next question. Can we apply super keyword with the variables in Scala? Is there any concept of using super keyword with variables in Scala? If you answer me, I get more energy, sir. You are giving me boost, Bornavita, all that to me. Okay, at least I have that happiness. Okay, you are listening and you are trying to understand things. Next one. Another question, sir. Can we use super keyword with methods in Scala? Okay. When should we go for super keyword? What are the scenarios? Like, can I use any time to invoke super class method in subclass with super keyword, or should I prefer it only in the overridden situation? Not revoke, invoke, invoke. You see, I think I should have written it. Invoke, sir. Revoke means removing that. Okay. I was a little worried. No problem. Now I am asking something. So when should we apply super keyword? Usually, can we use super keyword to access any method of parent to child, or only when should we apply it, or when there is overriding? Another important point. Just tell me. Should we use super keyword only when we go for overriding, or we can use any time, like, to invoke super class method in subclass? This is my question. Exactly. Good. Anytime. Anytime, sir. See, you can use super keyword anytime, but recommended is what? Recommended is when you override, then you prefer to use it. That is recommended one. But it doesn't mean that we should not use it, always. There is no problem there. Okay. So this is the idea about this. Hope definitely marriage example would have given little laugh to all of you, if not at least most of you, because I am not too good at jokes, sir. Still, out of my, earlier I was a little bit of professor, little classroom experience. That's all. Classroom jokes. Okay, let's get move to the next topic. Are you good with this, right? Now you are good with runtime polymorphism, overloading, and then this super concept, overriding variables. Okay, everything is clear, right? Yeah. That's really wonderful. So I am seeing here final keyword. Okay, no problem. Let us finish this. Then we will go to the abstract class. Probably tomorrow we will take it up abstract class. I don't think we have much time to get into the shoe of abstract class. Tomorrow we will do that. Now, what is final keyword here? Okay, this is simple. This is another keyword. So there are a lot of keywords in Scala, like in Java. So far you are seeing many keywords: where, val, if, else, while. Okay, and then do, for. There are so many case. You remember class? We have seen so many keywords, and in that pool of keywords, final is one more keyword. But usually these are called modifiers. We call these as modifiers. Modifier means something which are applicable with variables or methods or classes. We call such keywords are called modifiers. Because as name says, when you use this keywords with a variable or a method or a class, what they will do here is they will completely change the meaning of that variable, that method, or that class. It's like modifier is like having some Padmasri, Padma Bhushan, like that. If you put Padmasri before me, you will look at me in a different way. If I say just Manohar, my image is different. If I have Padmasri before my name, you definitely see me in a different image. Got it right? Like that, even modifiers also do the same difference to this variables or methods or classes. Got my point right? Like Dr. Manohar means what is that? That doctor will definitely change my image. If I don't have doctor, that is different image. The doctor is a modifier. It is completely changing the personality of Manohar. Got my point, sir? Same thing. Modifiers are similar to our these things in real life. Got it right? But these are more technical. Now let us just talk about what final keyword does here. It depends, but final one thing it does is that it never allows to change things. That's what final does here. It is applicable with variables, methods, and classes. We will do it point by point. Okay, these are simple things, sir. Hardly it will take 10 to 20 minutes to finish this final keyword concept, so that we have finished one more interesting topic in Scala. And these are exactly as is in Java also, sir. Probably the same thing is there in Scala also. I'm not sure. Sorry, in C#. I'm not sure. The Bharat is missing. Probably due to link change. I am sure on that. Got it right? So okay, that is fine, sir. We don't have issue with that. Now let us get into the discussion of this. What is final variable? What is final method? What is final class? Okay, we'll see all this quickly with examples. I know this theory is a bit of no, this is fine for us. The examples we can take of our choice, or let it be let us use the same examples, not an issue. First of all, let's get to the example first of all. So to understand final variable, we don't need all these classes. You can remove this. You can declare that even in this test class. One thing. Excuse me, sir. Sir, you just say something like final, right? Where a colon int equal to something. Okay, is it not allowed in this one? Okay, let me just go to the class and test it. Usually we need where is very it's essential. Where or val is essential, but the scope is missing here. It is allowed only in class. Sometimes the curious case of teacher, what is that? We don't directly do things. We try to get more things from a concept. Okay, I try to see in singleton object. It kicked me. Then what did I do? I put it in class. Then what is the conclusion? Don't declare final variables in a singleton object. What is why? Because it will give left and right. Still, my curiosity didn't die. I want to check in this scope whether this will see it is working here. So maybe if you directly declare it as a local variable in this main, it gave me left and right. Okay, so means what? I am able to declare this final variable in the object scope here or in the class scope here. This is final. Okay, fine. What is this final? Final is nothing but, sir, it's more or less declaring a constant. Suppose you have any idea about C programming. Okay, if you know about C programming, in C they use this macros. You remember, right? Or there is a constant keyword. If you have any idea, if you don't have idea, leave it, sir. You don't need to struggle here to understand, to remember, or to understand. The const keyword in C to define pure constants. Likewise, in Scala, in Java, in C#, final keyword is used to define exclusively constants. Constants means usually which doesn't change, like the values like pi. Best example to remember. In our project every day, I see a lot of constants in a Scala file. Usually, first they declare global variables as constants. They make all the constants as global variables. Got it right? Global in sense, they declare in the scope like this, or at least in the class scope. Okay, not outside object or outside class. That is not allowed in Scala. Like global instance, right? The meaning like static, declaring them as more like static variables or class variables. Okay, fine, that is fine. We don't have a big issue there. Now the question is, what is this final variables here? Simple, sir. Usually final is recommended if you want to define constants. Constants means something which doesn't change. And also when you define constants, usually constant variables name should be always in uppercase, sir. Like this it has to be. To define a constant is always in uppercase, sir. Keep in mind. We don't use mixed case or lowercase for constants. Constant always has to be like this in uppercase. Got it right, sir? This is another important point. Maybe you can avoid this data types. Usually, I didn't see in our projects we using this data type because implicitly it will decide that data type. No issue. Scala has that power and capability. Okay, I declare like this. So what is this constant? Constant means it's like, once you initialize something, it won't change. It's like, what is that? It's like a val type. Suppose you see, sir, now I'm trying to change this 20. Okay, now I'm trying to print it. Usually it should not change. Println of some a here. I'm sensing something, but anyhow, let me see, because I want to take it to the end. Add some new way. Let me run this. Getting 20, it's modifying it. Usually final should not do that. 1 minute, sir. Why this is doing it? Okay, here they were using in a different way. Got it. So final is used in a different way here, sir. Usually that's how final variables work. But now I have to change my discussion in the direction of the discussion. So this is not like that, sir. So point is, when you declare something as final, usually to make data immutable or not to change, we apply val. That is there. And if you see, these are both are mutually opposite. If I apply val with final, so it's not working here. But anyhow, we cannot override even that. Okay, the issue is with this, no issues. Then no problem, because we try to change it. If it is val, we cannot modify it. Now point is simple, sir. If it is a final variable in Scala, what it does is we cannot override. You can see here, sir, we can't override final variable in Scala. You got it right? That's all. It's not like we cannot modify, because proof is we are able to modify it. Somehow we again concluded something new here compared with Java. In Java, if you declare a variable as final, if you try to modify, then the compiler give left and right, because final variables are constants. You cannot modify them in Java. I also thought same is applicable in Scala, but finally, after having this bad experience, what is the conclusion? Final is not applicable to make constants, pure constants, but of course, final val is the proper combination, sir. It's not final var. Okay, of course, still it is not showing error, but usually we see the combination of val and final. That is the proper combination, not final and val, because this doesn't have any effect. Why do we go for final variable in Scala? If you don't want to override a variable of parent class in a child class, if you don't want to allow this to override, that should not be modified at any time, then we should declare such variables as final in Scala. But if the same thing, if you go to Java, final variables are declared to define constants. But here it is not the case. Of course, we can define constants here also with the combination of final and val. Constants in Scala are defined with val itself, because constant means you should not change. We have already that choice or that facility in Scala with val keyword. and we don't need an extra final here like in Java. You got the point, right? So that is simple conclusion. Suppose out of our curiosity again, we just try to override it in the subclass. Is that I just say something like, extends A1. You see, sir. Now I try to override it. Like as usual, val space some A equal to some 20. Definitely we get left and right this time. Probably we should get that. Yes, you can see there. I am doing proper overriding, but this is declared as final. Final means that's final. No more copy of that. Now what happened here? Read the error. Type mismatch. Found int of 20, required int of 10. Means what? It is not allowing to change the value. Okay, but still out of my curiosity, I tried to put it as 10 due to the error. After that also, what is it saying? It's clearly the error is saying here. What is that? Val A cannot override final member of A class. Can you see? Overriding value in class A in class A1. This is clearly discussed now. So we don't have any questions now. We don't have any confusion here. Everything is perfect. Okay. So this is idea about what's a final variable. I think it's clear for all of you, right, sir? All of you are good now. This is idea about final. So the valid combination is what, sir? Final and val. Final and var is not a recommended combination at all in Scala, because anyhow final doesn't have the same capability what it has in Java, and the purpose of final is totally different in Scala compared to Java. You got it right? So even few things, while discussing, even I might coming up, exploring new things here. Some new things suddenly pop up. That's a learning for everyone, sir. Even for me also. Don't think it's just only for you. So that is fine, sir. We are done with this. Probably, I forget one thing. If I forget to ask you to practice it, test it. Okay, sorry, sir. Okay, you test this now first. A quick test. Make a quick test. Do it now, sir. Even for super keyword, I didn't ask you to test it, okay, because I was in the flow. I forgot to ask you to test. Now we can test it, sir. Please check it, sir. Just confirm once you are done. This doesn't take much time. Just hardly it will take half minute to test this, just to get a quick idea. So this is perfectly clear for us. Yeah. This is idea about this. Okay, let it be there, no issues. What is there? Vehicle or bike or B class? We don't have big difference there. Okay, is it done, sir? So that's about final variable. Let's talk about final method. What is the final method? Okay, simple. Just as name says, final variable doesn't allow it to be overridden. Final method cannot be overridden. Final variable cannot be overridden. Final class cannot be inherited. We'll talk one by one. Now let's take a simple method here. Okay, some m1 and then colon some unit. Suppose now let us take this same marriage example. This is little interesting. Okay, now the parents are very strict, sir. Okay, then they made this as what? They made this marriage method as final. Means they finalize the bride. No more overriding. Then they put final before that. Okay, now who is the lady here now? This time you don't have a choice. Now you are taking the sublection. Okay, so this is when you have an orthodox family. This is what happens. What is it? They will finalize the bride, and you have to blindly. Even for girls, also the same thing happens. Now this time, I'm trying to see, sir, this is a final declared, this method is declared as final. Means when you look final, when you see final before a method, before a variable, don't dare to override it. Never even have the thought to override it. Of course, out of my curiosity, what I am doing now, I tried, parents have finalized that Subbalakshmi, but I just want to override with the Jesse. But this time it's not possible, sir. Earlier I had done that, I have overridden my method, but this time when I try this, you can see it is throwing an error. What is that? Overriding marriage method in class A1. Okay, of type, it is saying clearly method marriage cannot be overridden. It's a final member. Means this time, I am locked here. Means when you declare a method as final, we cannot override such methods, sir. So you can see here. What is that? Parents finalized some girl for me, and I have to marry the same girl. I cannot override it because it is a final method. Already it's fixed. When something is fixed, how can I override it? Not possible, right? Only you can have a choice when it is not fixed, when it is not final. You got it right there. So this is the idea about final method. I don't think this has any very, what is that? This is so simple. We don't have any complexity to understand this. That to marriage method definitely makes this much more interesting. Okay, simple. Got it right? There is no point of testing also because I have an error here. The error itself is clearly saying it is declared as final, don't override it. That's all. And finally, last but not the least, what is it? Final class. So what is that? Final method cannot be overridden. The conclusion is final variable as well as a method. In one point, we can conclude both. Cannot be overridden. Okay. That is one thing. Both cannot be overridden. What about final class, sir? What about final class? Suppose this is subclass, this is parent. Now I made this superclass as final. Immediately I have issue with the subclass here. I got an error with subclass here. You see here, it is showing error with the subclass. What is that? When I make this parent as a final, you can see here, sir, what it is saying. Illegal inheritance from final class here. Means what, sir? When you declare a class as final, you cannot inherit that class, sir. Not at all possible. It is a bachelor class, sir. No marriage, nothing. Inheritance happens only when you marry, right, sir? When you extend, there is inheritance, fine. But when the class is a final class, there is no inheritance. It becomes a sannyasi here. Means a final class cannot be inherited. Simple conclusion is, sir. Okay, I just use some Indian terminologies, sir. Don't take that to heart, sir, or brain. Just to remember that, sir. A final class cannot be inherited. Got it right, sir? So don't dare to extend this such classes. You go to sannyasi and ask him to marry, what he will say? Go to a bachelor, a hardcore bachelor, and ask him to marry. He will give left and right. Got it right? Same thing here. If you try to extend this, compiler gives left and right because this is final. If it is final, you cannot extend it. You cannot inherit. That's all. It's final. That's all. You say, sir, write something when you are arguing with someone, and finally you will say that this is final. I don't want to argue this. You are done with it. Okay. Hope final is little interesting here. Huh? Is it clear, sir? So that's for today. Today we have a good discussion. Today we had an idea about overriding, fields, and we have seen whether we can apply super keyword with variables, and we have seen super keyword with methods. We have seen what is that? A final with variables, with methods and classes. There is nothing with final keyword. If you declare a variable as final, then we cannot override it. If you declare a variable as method as final, we cannot override it. If you declare a class as final, we cannot inherit it. Okay. Got it. That's all about this one, sir. Any questions? Madhu, do you have any questions?
No.
Any question related to the earlier discussion, like invoking a superclass overriding variable thing? Still anything is running in your mind?
No.
Okay, fine.
Actually, my Eclipse collapsed.
Oh, it
Yeah.
got crashed. That's fine. No
Yeah.
issues. Okay. No issues. You can you can reinstall it.
Reinstalled.
Yeah. So are you good, guys? I think you got some best clear idea about all this stuff, right? Tomorrow we'll go to the abstract class. Probably we are almost reaching the end of OOP. After that, once you are clear with abstract class, we switch to traits. But if you understand abstract class, understanding traits doesn't take much time, because the same kind of situation or the same kind of this thing is implemented even traits. Concept is almost similar, but the purpose or usage is different. That's what we have to understand with examples. So that once these are done, then probably I'll switch to the next topic, that is exception handling. Once I finish exception, then we switch to this, what is that, collections. One of the part of any of these object oriented programming languages. Collections means like this list, set, map, okay, all this. There are so many things, and the methods definitely they are phenomenal, because most of the Spark this thing depends on collections, sir. I don't say these are, we don't have other stuff, even they are required. Okay. And also, before we start collections, we should discuss arrays, and then string. Having a more detailed analysis of string is very important. Okay, I don't think we have much to practice on final. Do you wish to practice anything here? Do you wish to practice anything? All right, there is nothing with final. Just a quick analysis on super keyword. Other things are straightforward. We have done this yesterday also. Okay, so that's the idea about this, sir. Shall we stop this here now? We'll meet tomorrow, sir. Good night.